Hello YouTubers, Ian here with MAPerformance. Yes, we're in a WRX, isn't that crazy? It's been way too long since we've done any WRX related videos, but we need to. There are some things I want to talk about today and some topics we wanted to cover. This is actually our new shop WRX. We also have a 2016 we just picked up, but today's purpose of the video is talking about frequently asked questions when it comes down to the Accessport and our tunes. It's been, what, 2.5 years or so since we've been sending out off-the-shelf tunes for the WRX, now the Mark 7 GTI, a lot of the EcoBoost platforms. And we get a lot of repeat questions that we figured maybe if we do a quick little video and have an index so you guys can kind of go to where you want to find a question answered, we would do that for you today. So, with that being said, we're going to break up this video. It might be a little long, so if you just bought an Accessport from us or you're looking to buy an Accessport from us, watch the whole thing. Hopefully I will cover anything that most people want to know about the Accessport or the tunes. If you've already purchased the Accessport and you're looking to get it put in and you have a couple just little questions, Eric will have a little index below, so we'll try to break up the video down underneath where the thumbs are and the comments are and all that fun stuff. So, what do we got? What do you want to start with first? Just the basic stuff? That's a good one. Will the Accessport void your warranty? Yeah, most likely. I mean, let's just be real honest. Not going to beat around the bush, not going to make any excuses. If that's a big concern to you, having a factory warranty on your car, yes, these things can certainly void your warranty. But what I have found is it does seem to be dependent on the dealership. For example, some of the local Subaru dealerships here in Minnesota are pretty mod friendly and seem to be willing to work with a good customer. Others, I've definitely heard some customers say that they took the car in for service and an advisor said, hey, I noticed you got some mods. You know, we flagged the car. Again, yes, there are some laws apparently that are supposed to protect us, but realistically, if it's a really concern and you want the car to be as reliable as humanly possible and you do not want to mess up warranty on a $30,000 vehicle, I would probably wait. But some would also argue that a really good off-the-shelf tune or a custom pro tune is probably more reliable than the factory tune. Better air-fuel ratios, better ignition timing, hopefully, as long as the person knows what they're doing, this tune might actually be healthier for your car than the factory tune that's pretty garbage. So, again, kind of my opinion on that one, but, so yeah, that answers that. What else have we got? Okay, so after you plug in the Accessport and you install it in the car and you flash your tune, does it have to stay plugged in all the time? Absolutely not. You have the choice. You can leave it in and use some of the gauges that we will be going over a little bit later in the video. So yeah, some people like to have it mounted. You can see your gauges, which is cool. Otherwise, if you don't like clutter on your dash, you can keep it in your house. I leave mine in my glove box. It's nice to kind of have it handy, especially if you're going to be doing traveling or if you need to switch octane tunes. It's nice to at least have it with you in case you're going out of town and you know, you want to flash a different tune. But I usually always put it away. Put it in your glove box or take it home at night. These things get stolen all the time. People leave them plugged into their car and some a-hole break in and take it. So it's just kind of a hassle. Never leave it outside. Just bring it in with you or put it in your glove box, hide it. Can you use the Accessport for multiple cars? So let's say you buy one Accessport and you own a WRX and your partner owns a WRX and your children have WRXs. Can they use the same Accessport? No, they cannot. Not at the same time, at least. Now, they can transfer from car to car to car, but that would require the Accessport to be uninstalled and reinstalled every single time. Also, if you have a custom tune on there for a 2015 WRX and you sell it to a guy that's got a 2017 WRX, that tune file is also not going to work. So these are some things to keep in mind. If you own multiple Subarus, you will have to have an Accessport for each individual car. So hopefully that answers that. All right, so that's basically going to cover all of the basic questions. Now we are going to move on to some tune questions. So what do we got as far as questions regarding the tunes themselves? Excellent question. So will an aftermarket tune or the Accessport affect my miles per gallon? Yes, it will. It typically, though, it affects it in a very good way. Now, assuming that you don't have your foot in the throttle all the time, typically a really good off-the-shelf tune, Cobb tune, or aftermarket Pro tune, we normally see an increase of miles per gallon anywhere from 1 to 3, which is pretty average for just your like part throttle cruising. So for your regular commute to work, going down the highway, or just putting around town, oftentimes you will see an increase in fuel economy with these aftermarket tunes. But vice versa, when you're wide open throttle and really getting at it, it's probably going to drink a little bit more, but as suspected. So, can you tune a leased vehicle? Absolutely. Past 3 of my cars have been leased, and they've all been tuned. Is it smart? I mean, I don't know. Am I smart? Not really, but you absolutely can. Now, the convenience with something like an Accessport, so this has the ability to obviously revert back to stock. So if you're going to lease the car for 3 years, you just want to have a tune on it just to have fun while you have it. I personally don't see any issue with that. Again, another conversation you may want to have with that specific dealer if that's going to cause any problems. At the end of the lease, the Accessport can be uninstalled. It can be flashed back to the factory tune, and then it can be brought into another car or sold. You can certainly move on, so absolutely. Okay, so this is a good one. I get this a lot as well. Will an aftermarket tune affect the longevity or the reliability of the car? No, it really shouldn't. Again, especially with our off-the-shelf tunes, these are pretty conservative. So we didn't make these tunes to be the most powerful out there to break any records. These are just another alternative for consumers, you know, who maybe don't want to have to spend money on a Pro tune or don't have an area nearby to do a Pro tune. But as I kind of talked about earlier, a really well done tune is probably a lot safer and more reliable for your engine. Yes, you are sometimes running more boost and more aggressive timing, but with proper air-fuel ratios and injector duty cycles, and God, I'm using big tuning words, you can get these things really safe and very, very conservative to the point where you're not putting any additional long-term stress, if you will. Yeah, at some point, you know, you will have enough cylinder pressure with a big turbo and ethanol, and if you're really cranking it, at some point something will break. But typically on an off-the-shelf tune, especially like a stage 1 tune in a stock car, really honestly isn't going to do too much damage long-term. In my humble opinion, I don't see any reason why you should go 100,000 plus miles with a really good off-the-shelf tune. Many of you might argue that, but I've done it before. It's never really been an issue. As long as you maintain the car, obviously, like, I mean, your common sense stuff, so. Yes, you do. So if you buy an Accessport from us, obviously you do get our custom off-the-shelf tune, but you will still always get the preloaded tunes provided by Cobb. So they're stage 1, stage 2, high wastegate, low wastegate, 91, 93, etc. Those will be preloaded on the Accessport. So ours is just an additional tune on top of the already provided Cobb tunes. So. Okay, so yeah, does the Accessport come with any custom features such as flat foot shifting, launch control? I know recently for the Mark 7 GTIs, they just released launch control, flat foot shifting for that platform as well. Yes, you can use those features on these tunes, so any Cobb compatible tune, those features are able to be used. So typically what has to happen is the Accessport will have to be updated. So if Cobb comes out with new features later down the road, you would simply just have to update the firmware on the Accessport itself. And then I'm going to have to send out a revised tune file enabling those features, so to speak. So yes, did that answer that question? Yeah, good? It's okay? Okay, thumbs up. Can you reverse the tune? Yes, and as we sort of just talked about with the warranty stuff or leasing, the stock tune is stored onto the Accessport the very first time you install it to the car. So that's usually staying in there as the stage 0 tune, I believe they call it. So whenever you sell the car, trade the car in, whatever the case may be, if you want to bring the Accessport with you, or you're going to sell it, third party or whatever, you would just simply have to flash back to the stage 0 tune and then unmarry or uninstall the Accessport from the car, and you're good to go. So for you non-US consumers, Australia, Europe, Cobb does support, so specifically the WRX. I know Cobb does support the Australian models. We don't have off-the-shelf tunes for Australian model cars. However, our tuner has been able to make a few when requested, so that may be something you want to talk to me directly about if you are a non-US owner of a WRX or GTI. Hit me up. We can get in touch with our tuner to see if he can create a tune file. As long as Cobb supports that market, shouldn't be an issue. You just bought the Accessport from us. It arrived at your house, and now you want your free tune. Once you receive the Accessport in the mail, go to otstunes@maperformance.com and submit the following information. So for the Subaru WRX STI, we just need to know the model year of the car, what octane rating you wish to use, and then the serial number of the Accessport. Now, it's typically printed on the box of the Accessport under the barcode. There's a white barcode sticker, so you can read it there. You can also find it by plugging it in and just going under the info, or you can remove this faceplate and the serial number is in there. So that's pretty much it. For you GTI guys, same thing, model year, octane rating, serial number off the Accessport, but then we also need to know if it's a manual or a DSG. So once you provide that information and you email it over to us, typically turnaround time is within 24 hours, except for the weekends. We aren't open on Saturday or Sundays. So, but yeah, the following business day, within 24 hours, I should be able to get those tunes over to you. I create the tune file here, and I email that in an attachment. I will also include some instructions on how to transfer that tune file from your email onto the Accessport, and that's something we can obviously go through later on as well. So you bought a used Accessport from a buddy or off Craigslist or Facebook. No problemo. In that case, we do sell our off-the-shelf tunes separately. They are $75 for our pump gas 91 and 93, and then they're $299 for our E30 tunes. So you can actually find those tunes right on our website. I don't know if you want to put links for those, or maybe we can do something for that. But yeah, so we sell those tunes separately, and then same thing. Once you purchase that tune file, just email me at otstunes@maperformance.com along with that vehicle information. Same thing, I'll just send the tune file over to you and you can get it uploaded onto that Accessport. You just bought a brand new WRX. It's got 10 miles on it. How soon can you buy an Accessport and tune it? Technically, right away. I mean, realistically. It's not going to really hurt anything. I kind of have a weird rule of thumb, and I don't know if it's that weird, but I've always told customers, if you're that super concerned, at least wait till the break-in procedure is done on the car, which I think is 1,000 miles or 1,500 miles, just in case. If there was a severe factory defect, one would assume that it would fail within that real quick period. And then you wouldn't have any warranty issues that have to fight and, oh, I spit on you. So you wouldn't have any, warranty issues that have to fight with the dealership on. So yeah, maybe just wait till the break-in procedure is done. As long as the car has been healthy since then and then, no issues, by all means. But realistically, any time can be done, So do you have 95, 98 RON fuel tunes? So for UK, Australian market? Again, yes, we do. So this kind of touches back with the Australian market specifically for the WRX. We do have 95 and 98 RON tunes specifically for the Australian market. So yes, there. So that should basically cover a lot of the questions that we got about the tunes themselves. Now, I want to sort of touch on some of the usability of the Accessport, some of the features. We're just going to switch the old camera around so you can see it, and then we'll head on and do that. All right. All right, so usability of the Accessports. Probably by far the biggest question I get. What gauges should I use? What parameters should I be watching? Let's talk about it. Let's go through some. So, have it plugged in right now. Car is running, obviously, and we have our 6 gauge setup right here. I know a lot of people ask, what gauges do you recommend having up all the time? I guess this is a pretty subjective, but on this particular Subaru platform, let's maybe touch on some of the important Subaru parameters. Okay, so right now I'm going to keep boost up. I'm cool with that. I want to switch to feedback knock, find knock learn. I also like to have DAM or dynamic advanced multiplier up. Let's kind of show you how to switch that. So using these arrows, we can obviously highlight which gauge we want to select. So let's go down to this one, and we're going to change monitor. And here I'm going to select which one I want to do. So let's do dynamic advanced multiplier. Okay. And then this one I want to be, let's do feedback knock. All right, and then up here, let's do find knock learn. So we got boost, we got our DAM, we got feedback knock, we got our find knock learn. So for this one, let's do our air fuel ratio. And then for the sixth one, I mean, realistically, you can do whatever you want. The 5 main ones we've already just covered, but I kind of like injector duty cycle. Maybe we'll touch on that here. All right, so now we probably want to start going over what each one of these means, what should I be looking out for, etc. So let's just talk about our off-the-shelf tune, and we'll start at the top and we'll just work our way down. So boost readings. A lot of people ask, what's target boost on your tune? Target boost on our 91 and 93 octane tune is 20 psi. Now, these particular cars do not learn a specific boost table, if you will. They kind of go off of air temperature, barometric pressure, etc. So peak boost readings can change from time to time depending on the weather and climate and all that kind of fun stuff. Isn't climate and weather the same damn word? Yeah, it's the same word. I just wanted to sound, I don't know, smart. So on here, obviously, this is showing your low reading and your peak high reading. So typically on an initial full throttle pull, let's say you have it in third gear, 3,000 RPMs, you lay into it. You'll probably see on warmer days, summer months, you'll probably see anywhere from 20 to 22 PSI of an initial spike right away. And then it will typically taper down to, you know, anywhere from 13 to 16 PSI at redline. On our stage 2 tunes, it's the same. Target boost is still 20 PSI. It does hold boost a little bit better up top. So you might see 18, 19 pounds at redline, but you'll still see the original 20 to 22 PSI spike. If you start seeing spikes excess of 23 and up, certainly want to contact me. We don't want to get things that wild. Now we're going to go down to the dynamic advanced multiplier, or the DAM. So essentially that is just a global correction for ignition timing. So essentially when the ECU sees any excessive feedback knock, it uses that to pull timing to keep the engine happy. In a nutshell. Again, I'm not going to go super detailed, and in fact, I'm not even a professional tuner, but I'm just going to kind of go over some of the basic things that we want to know. So DAM should always be 1.0. That's basically a happy 15 plus, so an FA20 DIT motor engine, excuse me. They want to be at 1. Now, a lot of guys will hit me up, hey, tune's been fine for a couple months, but all of a sudden the other day my DAM dropped to 0.8 something. Is my car going to blow up? Well, no, not exactly. In fact, it can be kind of common on these direct injected engines to drop DAM from time to time. It can be a lot of factors such as high air intake temperatures to poor quality fuel, usually. Now that's the most common reason. So either if your DAM is dropping and it happens every blue moon, probably not a huge concern. But if it's every time you drive on the highway and you can't keep that thing at 1, that may be something we want to look into further. And it could very well be fuel related. With DAM dropping, try a different take of fuel, try a different brand gas station. But do not reset the tune every time the DAM drops. A lot of people have told me, oh, I just reset the tune and it goes back to 1. Well, that's just because it's just relearned back to 0. It doesn't know if there was an issue going on. Typically, you want it to learn if there's a problem so we can catch it in time, essentially. Now we're going to go down to feedback knock. So feedback knock, this basically is your live knock count. So there are little microphones on the engine block that are programmed to pick up specific frequencies, you know, similar to detonation or cylinder knock. That's going to be showing you, as you're cruising, anything that it's picking up that it thinks could be some sort of sign of a knock. It is audible, so it is also often you could hit a huge pothole and that could show up. A lot of customers have reported when the AC turns on, this shows a -141. And that's totally fine. Now Cobb even states a -141 up to a -2.8 on these cars is considered pretty much normal, specifically when you're just cruising. This isn't including wide open throttle stuff. This is just putting around town or going on the highway. If you get consistent readings of 0.3 and up, you will probably most likely start seeing issues with dam dropping as well. Normally, sometimes those do correlate. So readings above -3, definitely a concern and may want you to reach out to us. But a -141, -2.8 from time to time, completely normal. Same goes for your fine knock learn. Now, the learn is essentially what knock event the ECU picked up on at a certain RPM range. And in order for that to relearn if that is a continuous knock or if maybe it was a phantom knock or a false knock, it has to go through that same RPM range, same throttle input, until it recognizes that, hey, that was just a one-time event, it's not going to happen again, and that's when dam will start to rise back up again. And it can take time. You know, this is not an overnight thing. If your dam drops one day and you drive to work and it only goes up a couple points, it can take some time. So often you might just want to be patient. So again, same with the fine knock learn, -141, -2.8. Those are all pretty much acceptable. Air-fuel ratio, pretty self-explanatory. That's reading your current live air-fuel ratio. These during idle, such as now, or cruising, they're going to always be around 14.7. It's going to, you know, fluctuate here and there, but about 14.7 is where it's going to be sitting during your part throttle and cruising. During wide open throttle, so you got it floored, we usually run AFRs in the 11.3, 11.6 range, with riching it up a little bit up top. So by red line, you might see that in the high 10s. We kind of do that for, you know, it's a little conservative and it's additional cylinder cooling for higher RPM use. So that's pretty much normal. That's what those should be reading. And then injector duty cycles. So most of the time you won't have to worry about that on an off-the-shelf tune, really. Usually on these FA20 DITs, we want to keep injector duty cycle below typically 40%. Right in the mid to high 30s is pretty normal for these things. Again, you may not see a reading that high on especially like just a stage 1 off-the-shelf tune. You might see higher numbers with our stage 2 tune or with our E30 tunes, etc. So yeah, that's basically going to cover those basic gauges. If you guys have any other additional gauges or questions on, please feel free to comment below. That should hopefully cover that. How do I data log? So, and why would you need a data log? I suppose I'm going to add that in there myself. There really isn't a reason to do it just for fun, although some guys do, and you can certainly do that. If I mentioned before, so let's say Gary from Gary, Indiana, is always getting dammed to 0.6, and it will never go up. It just won't go up. Every day he tries to drive it, dam's constantly dropping, he's getting tons of knock, he's tried different fuel, etc., etc. Now he's kind of stuck. That's when we'd probably request the customer to send in data logs. A data log is essentially just a recorded capture of what's going on in the ECU. This allows our tuner to look at all the different parameters to see real time what was going on in a specific run. Either if that's just cruising down the road or doing a wide open throttle third gear pull. Before we start our data log, the tuner will typically request that a specific number of parameters be logged in that log. So how do we set up the parameters? How do we know which ones he wants to see and doesn't want to see? So while we're in our gauges here, all we need to do is scroll up to this little setup arrow here, and we're going to enter that. And now we can go to configure data logging. And this is going to pull up your list of all the parameters that this Accessport will read off of the factory ECU. And we can simply highlight them or deselect them if we don't want them included in the log. I would always ask the tuner what logs he's going to want to see or prefer. Go through this listing, highlight everything that he recommends or she, and now we're ready to start data logging. It's pretty easy. This little main button here in the middle, we're just going to go ahead and press that. And now you see those little lights in the center have started to flash. That's indicating that we are now recording or data logging. So from here you can go cruise around, you can do a wide open throttle pull in third gear all the way to red line. And then when you're done and you're slowing down, simply push the button again and it'll flash one more time, the lights will stop going off, and that indicates that the data log is now ended. Then it will store that inside the Accessport. So you'll be able to bring this into your house, plug it in your computer, and you can transfer those captured data logs into an email and send them in to us. If you have other questions on data logging or more detailed instructions how to do it, please comment below or hit us up. We'd be more than happy to help you guys out. Another one is touching on the Cobb custom features that we talked about earlier in the video. How do we set up the Cobb custom features, like flat foot shifting or launch control? All we need to do for that, and as long as I've sent you the revised tune and you've updated your Accessport firmware, we can do the following. So let's go back to the main menu here, and we're going to go down to the tune. And from here, we can go to adjustments. And this is where we're going to enter in our idle adjustment. Here's our flat foot shifting setup right here. We also have the launch control. So this is the RPM you want it to set for launch control. Simply use the up and down arrows to select your desired RPM. I'm a 4800 kind of guy. So I'm just going to enter, boom, it's done. All right, and so the other one that I get asked quite a bit is how do you set up or adjust the shift light on the Accessport? So these little tree lights there in the middle that were lighting up when we were doing data logging, that's also a shift light. So as you get closer to red line, these will go from green to yellow to red. So we just go back to our gauges again, and we're going to go up to our setup here, and then we can select the configure shift light. So now this is where we can set or we want the shift light to indicate. So this car has a red line like 6800. I'll just set it at that. So now this will light up red and flash when you hit that specified RPM range. So hopefully that covers some of the basic questions, some of the setup and features of the Accessport. If there's anything we forgot or we didn't touch on, put it down below. Comment down below. I will be more than happy to answer anything you guys throw at me best I can. So thanks again for watching. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.